All right, let's go. Welcome to another episode of eCommerce Reality, where we talk all things e-commerce, Shopify primarily, Meta ads, Google ads, email marketing, CRO, all of that good stuff. So in this one, I want us to focus on the one key metric. And the thing is that every e-com brand will have a different metric. However, this is something that I do with all brands. I ask them what's their main key metric that they want to focus on. And this also helps actually clarify things, because if you don't know where you want to go, then you'll never get there, right? It's just like saying you want to be rich, and rich could mean anywhere between $1,000 a month to $1 million a month. You know, like the range is very high depending on your perspective, where you live, how you grew up, and so on, right? So this is why I'm actually making these videos, mainly because it helps myself, maybe helps you as well. It's mostly about ways of thinking, right? Because I'm working with enough e-com brands where at this point, you know, there's like a status quo, meaning that they're not even thinking of new things or trying to change the way they've always thought about things, you know, because for example, right now it's Q3, right? Let me see, what day is it? It's July 19th, if I saw correctly here, right? So it's basically, let me think, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So we just started Q3 to some extent here. And it's a slower season for sure, because look around. Like if you live in Europe especially, you pretty much know that people aren't like overworking around here, you know. So of course there's actually more opportunity during this time, because this is when you can actually plant the seeds for Q4. And this is what I'm doing. I'm having so many calls nowadays. I've even hired someone who I want to train, because I will need all the help in the world in Q4. And by discussing with multiple brands, I've noticed that some of them just don't have clarity, you know? And this is where you actually help them by asking the right questions. For example, if you ask what's their main metric, you know, you actually need to get an answer from them. So they have to think, what do they really want? Do they want a high ROAS? Because everyone could say, I want a high ROAS, yeah, but like at what volume? Do you want to put for ROAS at 100K spend, or do you want a for ROAS at $1 million in spend, right? Because if you care about the ROAS, the question is, why do you care about ROAS? Do you not care about profit, for example? You know, and this is where you can ask these questions, where you can get clarity to really understand, like, what do they actually want, you know? Because there are multiple metrics you could look at all times. For example, ROAS is one of the most useless ones. I mean, it's not useless if you can actually correlate it to profit, to other things, but otherwise, like in platform, ROAS in Facebook is useless. Like I'm actually working with a brand right now that has over 100K MRR. And basically, the Facebook ROAS is probably a 0.2, 0.3, you know, because the tracking just isn't there. And it's normal, because it's also a different type of business. It's not exactly e-com, but the best practices apply. And for example, right there, what we focus on is new customer ROAS, because we also have, as I said, recurring revenue. But what we want is to have new customers, because the old ones will eventually churn. So we know that we want to focus on new customer ROAS or new customer CAC, because as you know, with memberships, as in this case, you have like monthly, you have yearly. Some people continue the monthly for a period of time. Some just get the full year and then like never even use it, you know. So there are multiple ways here, and different things you need to focus on. And for example, for many e-com brands, many actually focus a lot on new customers, right? Which I don't think it's the best thing, because why do you even care about new customers if for example you have to sacrifice profits to acquire new customers? Like, are you just like investing for the future here in order to have more profit in the future, or what's the end goal? So these are the questions that are the ones you'd probably ask yourself during the weekend or during meetings, strategical meetings, because otherwise, yeah, just like with anything in life, you don't question things. You don't try to look at it from a different perspective. That's why even right now, I'm always trying to look at the entire picture of a business and try to understand, is it actually ads that we're trying to optimize? Because actually I made a video recently saying that sometimes, I mean, at least for me, ads are the easier part, because I kind of know the recipe for like making ads, of course, not myself, but we pretty much know the flow there in terms of like doing research, making the ads, launching them, testing them, getting the data, and then basically going back to the drawing board and seeing what can be improved based on data, right? But that's more so on the testing side. And the thing is that, for example, if you have something working, how much do you push it? Like, what is the metric that you're optimizing around, right? And it's also good, and I need to add here, that ideally you do have one metric or so, and then what you should do, and this is, I guess, the more important part of the videos, actually being practical. So I always try to have ranges, right? For example, if your target ROAS, let's say, right, or net profit, let's say your target ROAS is 3, right, or your net profit is 10K. The thing is that what's overachieving, what's underachieving, or another way to look at it is like, what is the green light, what is the yellow light, what is the red light? This is a very good question that I learned when I was working at a bigger agency a few years ago, and I still use it to this day, because it definitely helps, and it's a good question. It also helps the brand owner, the team from that brand also understand, right? So I'll go back home now and actually write that down, because probably this upcoming week I'll be asking everyone the same question. What's your main metric you want to focus on? What would be your ranges? The green light, where basically everything is okay to scale to the moon. Then what's the yellow light, where we should just make sure things are stable at that point, right? We don't want to make quick decisions if we're not sure, right? Because we're in a range that's decent, but only decent, not too good, not too bad, you know, comme ci, comme ça. And then there's also the red light, right? Like, what do you do when things are going in the wrong direction? Things are stagnating or actually going down, not stagnating. Sometimes stagnation would be nice for many brands. They would actually prefer stability, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. So you actually need to make sure you have all of these ranges, and then just like a pilot, you know, it's just like if you watch Formula 1, for example, you know that you're in, let's say, the second place, third place, fourth place, and you know how hard you need to push or not push, right? Because, for example, if you're in first place, you won't push as hard because you don't need to take risks at that point, right? Things are going well. You maybe have a lead compared to the second driver, so you don't need to push, you don't need to take any risks, and so on. And it's the same here. You need basically one metric to focus on, right? That, for example, for many people, it's like money. How much money do I make, you know? Probably not the best one, to be honest, because there are so many factors that tie into that. And for example, even with money, do you prefer to have more now, or do you want to have more later? Because there are two different recipes for each one, right? Even with investing, like, do you want to get a safe 5 to 10% now, or do you want to get a more risky, possible 10 to 20%, but also a possible downside of 10 to 20%. So this is where you really have to ask yourself these strategical questions. And yeah, I would say that's the main thing I wanted to share in this one, because I'm also focused on that clarity right now. Clarity with the brands that I work with, especially because I did onboard one recently. So I want to make sure things are all right for it, and we start on a good note here. So overall, that's it. Slightly over 10 minutes here as always, so that's probably the ideal time for a YouTube video here. And if you liked it, as always, you can press that like button. It also helps myself, the algorithm, us, like getting more attention overall, which is usually helpful. And yeah, if you have anything you want to comment, you can do it down below, especially if you're here at the end of the video. I mean, you can comment whatever. You can comment the number one, if you want. And it doesn't matter if someone else didn't comment until now, like you can be the first one. Don't be shy. So with that being said, that's everything for this one. And until next time, peace out.